Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. Now, Fabrizio Romano has given us an update on Eberechi Eze, and then we'll get through the latest on Trossard and also Zinchenko. So let's start with this one. Eze is a top target now for the remainder of the window. Arsenal have spoken to Eze's camp several times. Eze is very tempted by this opportunity. Arsenal will try. Let's see how the convo goes in August. He's considered the perfect player to add to their squad. So you can look at this lot of different trades. Obviously, you're hoping that if you're going to get Eze, it's going to be before the Man United game. We still now have 18 days to go before that game, so still over 2 weeks to go to try and get this Eze deal through the line, over the line. Now, we've done a lot of business already in July. We've already made 6 signings, already added 3 new deals in terms of new contracts. That's a lot of business to do in 1 month. So there's a full month. You can look at it in a positive way and say we have a full month to try and get the Eze deal done. Nothing else to focus on. We've gotten the striker we needed. We've gotten the other deals that we needed. Maybe you can sell also Saliba and Saka, try and give them new contracts. That's also very important. But considering we've done so much business in July, then we have a lot of time to focus on the Eze deal. Now, if you're not too worried about Eze not signing before the Man United game, on the Leeds game, as long as Eze is here, even if it's at the end of August, you don't care. As long as he's here, it doesn't have to be before preseason, then there wouldn't be any rush at all. If you're confident enough, you can beat United and beat Leeds before getting Eze in. Ideally, you want every single player to be there before preseason, while preseason goes on, but not every deal is usually done before the season starts. There's a lot of deals that happen on deadline day, a lot of deals that usually happen after the season starts. And yes, you want him before then, but even after the 3 games, Premier League starts, after the 3 Premier League games, there's still another 9 months to go that Eze can feature, 8 months to go. So let's hope that we can try and get it done as soon as possible, but it depends on the negotiations. It depends on Crystal Palace themselves, on how they treat these negotiations with Arsenal. Are they going to be as tough as Sporting, or are they going to be open to what Arsenal is putting on the table? All that you have to wait and see what happens with that. But I am confident that you're still going to get him, especially now that Fabrizio said that this is literally the only deal you're trying to do. On the live show earlier, someone asked that are we going to do any more business of the 6 signings? Is it going to be only Eze or another one? Now, it might be 7, it might be 8, because there's still rumors over the last 1 month that because of the injury problems in defense and because Zinchenko might still end up leaving and stuff, we might still go for like a left back, whether it's going to be on loan or a deadline day signing. I don't know. It might be, but for me, I'm expecting 7 signings, so I would expect Eze to be the last deal that we do. We've already gotten a goalkeeper, we've gotten a defender, we've gotten a couple of midfielders. Eze would be an attacking midfielder. We've gotten a winger in Madueke and a striker in Gyökeres. I think they'll be very happy with that. That will take our spend to over 250 million. I think they'll be very satisfied with that. Now, obviously, August is not the only transfer. You want to get your business done before the season, yes, but maybe the Andrea Bata there, maybe there's still a possibility you can also try and get some other deals done in January. Over the last 2 years, we haven't really done any business in January, but maybe the Andrea Bata there, then there's a possibility of, whatever we can't do right now for the remaining 1 month, then in the remaining 1 month, then we can get it done in January. So that is a possibility as well. So Fabrizio had more updates on this one as well. So let's go through that first. He says Eze is very tempted by this opportunity. So that's very important as well. If a player wants to join you, it really helps. Remember with Mosquera, he could easily have signed a new contract at Valencia, but he rejected it and he said, I want to join Arsenal. And that bought Arsenal time. Arsenal decided to go and finalize the other deals, knowing that Mosquera wasn't going to go anywhere else. He was waiting for Arsenal to, come back for him. And Arsenal took some time, continued negotiating with Valencia, and then came back and paid the money. So that helps. With Gyökeres as well, Gyökeres wanted to join Arsenal. It really helped Arsenal, take time in the negotiating, because if there was any other teams wanting him and Gyökeres was open to go, then Arsenal would have ended up paying like 70, 75 million for Gyökeres because they are desperate. But because Gyökeres really wanted to join Arsenal, then it bought us more time to try and negotiate. So the moment a player really wants to join you, it really helps the situation. So if Eze 100% wants to join Arsenal, it really helps our situation. We can take time in the negotiating. Maybe we can put Crystal Palace in a tough spot as we try to get this deal done. Additionally to what Fabrizio had to say about this one, let's bring this one up. Fabrizio also said, after all the signings for Arsenal, it's now going to be important also to offload and sell some players. Now it's going to be time to create some spaces financially, but the top target is Eberechi Eze. He's considered the perfect player to add. They are in contact with his agents. They spoke to the player several times, the players camp several times. Eze is very tempted by this opportunity. They still didn't speak to Crystal Palace, so let's see how those conversations will go in August. We all know how complicated it is to negotiate with Palace, but Arsenal will try. Hopefully, they're not as complicated as the sporting president, but obviously, listen, Eze is the best player in Crystal Palace at the moment. They're not just going to want to let him go for pennies and 20 million plus 10 million in add-ons. No, they're obviously going to try and get as much money as they can for their best player. But again, it helps when the player wants to join you. If he's just happy to stay at Crystal Palace and he doesn't really care about moving to Arsenal, that it makes the situation very difficult, then you really have to pay over the board to attract the player. But and Arteta, by the way, also said a couple of years ago, if a player really wants to join Arsenal, they're really they try to push for that player. And if a player isn't really excited about joining Arsenal, they don't really want those kind of deals. And for example, someone like a Sesko and a couple of other players that we've tried signing, we haven't really gotten them over the line because it hasn't really pushed for the move. So if Eze pushes for the move, it definitely helps us as well. After all the signings for Arsenal, it's now going to be important to offload players. We'll talk about the players that we can offload. It's going to be time to create some space financially. So in terms of fees and transfer fees, yeah, we might need to create some space because we've spent now 200 million on the signings that we've made. We've made some expensive signings. Not all of those signings are being paid for right now. Some are installments, some, like even Madueke in a couple of add-ons as well. I think installments as well. So Zubimendi the same, Gyökeres the same. But overall, the spend is 200 million. 50 million on Zubimendi, 50 plus million on Gyökeres, 60 actually, 50 plus million on Madueke. So we've actually spent a lot of money. So to spend that on Eze as well, we might need to sell a couple of players. I think we will. In terms of wages, I don't think we're in a bad spot because, Tommy was on 110, Thomas was on 180, 90. Tierney was on like 110 as well. So we've gotten rid of a lot of players who on high wages. So we've saved a bit there. And Gyökeres is on 200k now. There's Nogard is on less than 100k as well. A couple of other players that we've signed on less than 100k. So we haven't really spent that much money on the wages there. So we have saved a bit that we can use on big players like Eze if we get him through the door. So this is what Sami Mokbel has had to say about this as well. There is a feeling at Arsenal that Eze's best position is at number 10, an area that Odegaard and Nwaneri operate in. Eze can play on the left, and Arsenal may view the Palace forward as a multifunctional attacker rather than just a 10. Palace are aware of Arsenal's interest. The Gunners are understood to value Eze lower than his 68 million release clause and want to negotiate a deal beneath that. So that's what will obviously take a lot of time to negotiate that particular deal. In terms of the number 10 being his position, I think he would bring so much to Arsenal if you manage to sign him. The fact that he can play as a 10, the fact that he can play on the left wing, the fact that he can play as an 8, that is already very exciting. One, he provides competition for Odegaard and Nwaneri. He also, can allow you to rest those players. You might not have to play Odegaard every single game. Might not have to put that pressure on one area every single game. For example, let's say Odegaard is out for a game against like a Man City. Maybe you don't have to go and tell Nwaneri you have to do for us the job in this game. 90 minutes, go and do the job for us. No. At that point, you also have Eze to help out in that position. And for me, left wing. Okay, let's go to the left wing as well. Eze can also play as a left winger. At the moment, you're currently looking for a left wing. I think that spot is open. I don't think we're going to go and sign a new one. I think it's going to be, especially if we keep all our players, it's going to be up to Trossard and Martinelli to compete for that one, Madueke to compete for it as well, and Eze as another potential on that left wing. So those are 4 players who can play there. That position is up for grabs for us. That can also help us in terms of having different ideas on the left side, depending on the game. For me, though, the most important position that Eze can come and play for us is next to Odegaard. Those games where we we have three front players, and then we only have Odegaard in midfield to create. And Everton just parked the bus, Burnley just parked the bus, Sheffield United just parked the bus, and we struggled to score. Last season, we struggled to score so many times. Our defense never really, conceded that many goals. It's been years since Arsenal conceded more than 2 goals in a game, like 3 years or something. We don't do that. The reason why we're drawing games is because we're not scoring enough. Even after creating chances, we were missing them. But some games, literally, teams would completely shut us out, like an Everton at home, Everton away. Those are very difficult games to try and score because you're depending on Odegaard, and Odegaard was not there part of the season, and Oneri wasn't playing, so we are really lacking in terms of creativity. And if Odegaard doesn't play well, then that is it. But what if the opposition have more than 1, 2, 3 things to think about? They can double up on Saka, fine, but they know if they double up on Saka, who's going to be marking Odegaard? There's a through ball to Gyökeres that is possible. There's a through ball to Martinelli that is possible. There's a through ball to Saka that is possible. There's a through ball to Ben White that is possible on the overlap. When they're trying to get all that done and try to mark Odegaard, boom, Eze is there as well, trying to create from the left side. He also has Martinelli overlapping on that side. He also has Calafiori or Lewis Skelly overlapping on that side. He also has Gyökeres running in behind. He has someone like a Declan Rice at the edge of the box asking for a pass to shoot the ball. It just it's very exciting to have numerous options in those games, and doesn't even have to be from the start. It can be you start with Zubimendi, Rice, and Odegaard, and then it gets to 60 minutes, it's 0-0, still struggling to score. At that point, you take off a defender, or you take off a defensive midfielder, you bring on Eze, and then boom, you have 5 attackers on the pitch: Gyökeres, Saka, Trossard, Eze, and Odegaard, and all of a sudden you're in a better position. So I want us to be very flexible next season, and a player like Eze really allows you to be flexible. So that is why I feel like we need a player like that in our team, a player who can play numerous positions, and he can help us go with 5 attackers instead of 4. He can also be on the left wing, just however we're going to use it. It can be Madueke on the left wing, whoever Eze next to him. Just have multiple options. That is what I'm trying to have in the team. So that is what Sammy Mokbel has had to say about this one. Palace are aware of the interest. The Gunners understood to value Eze lower than 68 million. The Athletics reported this earlier this morning. Arsenal remain interested in Eberechi Eze, but are not willing to meet a release clause in excess of 60 million, and will only bid for if Crystal Palace reduce their asking price. So depends on how desperate Arsenal are to get this deal done. Are we going to try and push for it? Are we just going to wait for Crystal Palace to reduce the money? Are Crystal Palace desperate to sell him at all, or they're happy to keep him? We don't know about that as of now, but I think if you're going to try and get this deal done, we're going to be the ones to try to make a move, because I don't think Crystal Palace are desperate to let him go at all. It's their best player. They already lost Olise and Zaha recently. They might end up losing Amateta as well. So it's very important to try and keep a player like that for them. They're now going to be in the Europa League. They're now going to be in the Conference League. Could that, mean that Eze now wants to move because they're not going to be in that Europa League that they qualified for? I don't know. So let's see. Hand of Us also had this to say: the release clause does indeed have an expiry date that comes into effect before deadline day, but I'm not sure this changes the value Palace have placed on Eze. Arsenal and Palace have engaged in talks, multiple sources confirm. As of today, Palace are looking for approximately 30 million as a first payment for any agreed deal. Personal terms are not an issue. No further advancement as of today. So the release clause does have an expiry date. So for most teams, I thought that was on the big screen. For most teams, they usually want the release clause to expire so that they can sell their player for more. So, for example, if I think Sesko last season, Leipzig wanted like 50, the release clause was 50 million, but they didn't really want to sell him for that 50 million. So after the release clause expired, they know they can ask for 80 million or 90 million without anyone coming just activating that release clause. So most teams usually want that release clause to expire so that they can get as much money as they can. So maybe it's the same with Crystal Palace. Maybe they might want more than that 68 million release clause. Maybe they want even close to 80, 90. But Hand of Arsenal says that the release clause does indeed expire before the end, but I'm not sure this changes the value Palace have placed on him. So they still value him at around 68 million to 70, even without the release clause. Arsenal and Palace have engaged in talks. Multiple sources have confirmed. That is great. As I've read for you, all those journalists saying that we've engaged in talks, so that is good. Palace are looking for approximately 30 million as first payment. So could that tempt Arsenal? Probably, because 30 million and then the rest of the 30 million maybe in installments could be a possibility for Arsenal. Remember, for Zubimendi, Zubimendi, we were supposed to pay 50 million for him, 52 million for him, but Arsenal were actually happy to pay more than that. We ended up paying 55 million so that could be in installments. So maybe Arsenal are happier to pay the 68 million if it's in installments. If you tell them, okay, listen, 30 million up front and then the other 38 million you're going to pay in installments, or 30 million in installments and then the 8 million in add-ons, maybe Arsenal are more excited about that. Maybe Arsenal could even tell them, you're going to give you 70, make it 5 installments. That could be a possibility depending on how much Crystal Palace want for him, or if any other teams come in for him as well. So 30 million as fast payment, no, I don't think that is a bad deal. Now, for players like Madueke, I think it's the same scenario. I think there's some money that we paid up front, and then I think a bit of it is in installments, and then the rest in add-ons, 4 million in add-ons. So I'll get the exact breakdown soon. Also, for Gyökeres, there's add-ons as well. So I guess it just attracts the team more to, carry over the rest of the fee to the next years. When Arsenal get more money for next year, we can go and you pay all these add-ons and the rest of the installments. We're going to be in a better position next year, and more money from this season, the Champions League. Maybe it gives us another full year to try and sell players, and then pay off all the debts and that we have in terms of installments and all that. So that is good. Let's see how that advances the 30 million. If Arsenal are going to be happy with that, and if Crystal Palace actually want that as well. Personal terms, not an issue. The player wants to join Arsenal, so that is great. So Ben Jacobs and Aaron said Arsenal in talks with Crystal Palace over Eberechi Eze. Palace seeking Eze's release clause triggered or matched. As per Ed Aaron's, Palace won 35 million up front in any deal. Eze remains keen on a move, and an Arsenal bid outside of the clause is still anticipated. So we haven't really been making any bids this transfer window. It's been just talks and then offer, and then we've bought the player. For Gyökeres, there wasn't any bids really. It was a lot of discussions, and then the final offer and then deal done. For Norgard as well, I don't think there was any bids like usually you expect. Okay, this team wants 50 million, this team will start with 30 million first bid, 32 million second bid, 35 million plus 3 million in add-on 3 bids, third bid. That's what we did with Declan Rice, for example. But with most of the players that we signed this summer, it's just straight up offer and then we get the players. So let's see if it's going to be the same with Eze, or we're just going to go bid for bid with them until they accept whatever they're happy with. So let's see how that one goes. Now, for players who are about to leave, what's the latest on Leandro Trossard? Graham Bailey said that Arsenal have told Leandro Trossard they will not stand in his way of an exit and is ready to depart, with the wingers camp now working on options. Both Napoli and Atalanta have joined the chase for the winger. So over the last couple of days, we've had there's a lot of teams who are trying to get Trossard. Now, Napoli and Atalanta have joined. Dortmund wanted him. We were told Dortmund want him now from yesterday. And 2 other Premier League teams that we don't know about. I don't know who's ready to pay that money for him, but we have to get some significant money for him. His contract is expiring next year. It's either we give him a new contract right now and keep him, or we sell him right now. So I don't want us to be selling Trossard for 15 million or 20 million. He's a very important player. 2 seasons ago, he scored 17 goals for us, big goals in the Premier League, big goals in the Champions League. When he came to Arsenal in that January transfer window, between February and May, he had more than 10 assists in like 4 months. So overall, during his time at Arsenal, it's a good 7 out of 10. So even with 1 year remaining on his contract, even with him being 30 years of age, I think if you're selling him, it has to be above 30 million. And I don't think you're going to get that. So for me, I'm trying to keep Trossard in the team because he can be used from the bench. He's still a very good option off the bench in terms of goals and assists and just providing the contributions. With players like Gyökeres there and players like Madueke there, who knows? Probably Trossard gets more assists, probably gets more goals, with different ideas and different players and different personnel in the team. Maybe become even better. He becomes a better player in his 30s. So for me, I'm not really too keen on selling him, especially not for 15 to 20 million or something. That's what I'm not keen on at all. So that is according to Graham Bailey. Now Zinchenko, according to Ben Jacobs, Fulham have made an approach to sign Oleksandr Zinchenko. Fulham have been in talks with the players' camp since early June, and they are now considering making a formal bid, with Arsenal valuing the player at around 15 million. So again, with Zinchenko, 15 million seems a bit too little. He's an experienced player. He's played for Arsenal. He's played for Man City. He plays for his country. he's a technical player, technically gifted. He can get into midfield. He can play left back and play in midfield. He plays in midfield for his country, sometimes as an 8, sometimes as a 6. I don't think you can just give him for 15 million, though. And at the moment, you do have a lot of defensive problems with the injuries. Zinchenko can't be a backup, even in the Carabao Cup games and the FA Cup games. Playing those games allow us to rest players like Timber and Calafiori. Sometimes he can even play in the Premier League games, no problem. We know he isn't supposed to play against Liverpool away, against Salah. That is not really his style of play. But in terms of breaking down teams, imagine you have Eze, Odegaard, Saka, Trossard and Zinchenko from the midfield, all trying to provide for Gyökeres up front. That is very exciting. So I'm not really too keen on selling Zinchenko as well, unless if we need that money to buy Eze and we're getting at least 25 million plus for him, then I would maybe consider it. But as of now, 15 million, I don't know. There's other players we can sell: Nelson, Lokonga, Karlheim, Fabio Vieira. There's other players that we can sell. So let's see. Unless the money is very important for us to buy players, then maybe we can consider it. But 15 million seems too low. They also want Reece Nelson. So basically, for Reece Nelson and Zinchenko, the two players, they would give us like 25 million total. Nah, that is too low. So for me, that is a no. So that is the latest today. Let me know what you make of all that. How much would you try and sell Zinchenko for? How much would you try and sell Trossard for? Are you keen on selling them? Are you happy to keep them, Trossard or Zinchenko? Let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.